Good Sunday morning, everyone. Welcome back to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. In today's weather forecast, I'll be going over the more severe weather today across the mid-Atlantic with mainly damaging winds possible. And then a late season snowstorm today will move across the upper Midwest and Great Lakes, how much snow you can expect there. And then a late week storm system with another snowstorm and possibly a severe weather outbreak. We'll detail those areas later on in today's video. Looking back to yesterday, it was a busy day across the Mississippi Valley and the Gulf Coast. We had two separate type of systems move through. The first brought a lot of wind reports, a lot of hail reports, and even one tornado report down near the St. Louis area yesterday. And we also saw a lot of wind reports down here into southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, and to northwestern Florida as well. We actually had 278 total severe weather reports as of yesterday. But as we go through today, that same system will continue to pushing farther off to the east and actually will take a negative tilt here with the trough as it moves through the Ohio Valley. So what does this mean? Well, we have limited moisture return, at least back into the low and mid 50s with our dew points across the eastern Great Lakes, the Northeast, and the Mid-Atlantic here, with the higher dew points across the Southeast, where we have those 60-degree dew points down in the Carolinas and Georgia. So what this will mean is that as that cold front intersects some of that warm air, we're definitely going to be seeing some marginally strong to severe storms. That's why the Storm Prediction Center does maintain a level 1 of 5, a marginal risk of severe weather across portions of Michigan, getting into Ohio today, western portions of New York State, getting into central and western Pennsylvania, West Virginia, getting down to the Carolinas, and even a marginal risk down here into eastern and central Florida as we go through the day today. This is mainly going to come in the form, though, of some damaging winds. So looking up here across the mid-Atlantic, noon time frame, we got a squall line of showers and storms here from eastern portions of Indiana down through western Ohio, all the way down into portions of the southeast. That will quickly propagate farther off to the east through this evening. By 6 o'clock, that will be approaching the Pittsburgh area, getting down here into western Virginia, getting down into the western Carolinas, and all the way south into central Georgia. And that will fall apart as we lose the instability in the daytime heating as the sun sets from west to east across the mid-Atlantic as it approaches Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., and places up here into the Baltimore area around the midnight time frame. This system will be producing some heavy rainfall. So as we go through this afternoon and into this evening, heavy rainfall is possible, especially with those heavier cells within the line of storms. We could be dropping some half-inch to even 3/4 of an inch of rainfall down here, especially into eastern Ohio, down through West Virginia and portions of western Virginia as well through that Monday morning time frame. But on the backside of the system, it's a whole different ball game. We actually have a lot of colder air in the low and mid levels of the atmosphere. This is the low level temperatures, and you see they're definitely cooling off as the system wraps in some colder weather from the southern Canadian provinces down here across the upper Midwest and the western Ohio Valley. And near the surface, these temperatures will translate into the low 30s. So definitely seeing some marginally cold temperatures, and it's just enough to snow out here. And that's where we have those winter weather advisories in the purple shaded colors, including the Twin Cities region up here, getting down into northeastern Iowa, far northwest Illinois, into parts of Wisconsin, and even some pink shaded areas. Those are winter storm warnings where we are gearing up for a late season significant snow across the UP of Michigan and down through west central Wisconsin here. And you can see that reflected here by the noon time frame. We got some snow showers back here into Minnesota, northern Iowa, and as the system continues to wrap up and wrap some colder air in, by this evening, 6 o'clock, we're going to see some snowfall flying here again around the Twin Cities region, La Crosse, Prairie du Chien, Wisconsin, getting down farther south toward the Iowa City, Cedar Rapids, Iowa region as well. That will wrap even farther inland here into portions of northern Illinois as we get into the midnight time frame. So places like Chicago, Rockford, Illinois, and then on up into Madison, Wisconsin, we could definitely be seeing some snow showers there. The heavier snow rates will be into west central Wisconsin with the better lift and dynamics just to the west of this low pressure system, and that will really continue more or less through the Monday morning commute at 6 a.m. and even into Monday evening before we start to dry out the atmosphere from west to east across the western Great Lakes region. But before then, we're going to be seeing some very heavy snow for this time of year, especially across portions of the western UP of Michigan, Up here near the Lake Superior, we could be seeing double-digit totals over 10 inches, and then that will translate farther south with at least a few inches of snow into west central Wisconsin. Some of these areas will see 4 to as much as 7, 8 inches worth of snow, especially on grassy surfaces through that Tuesday morning time frame, and even some snow down here into northern Illinois, right along Highway 20 here, I-90 from Rockford to Chicago. We could be talking about 1 to 2 inches worth of rain again, slushy accumulations mainly on grassy surfaces, but also we're going to see the strong winds. So the system will be bringing in this colder weather with the snowfall on the heels of strong northwesterly winds through Monday. And you can see these very strong winds will be blowing with gusto across portions of the Midwest. We could be seeing 40, if not 50 mile per hour wind gusts through that Monday morning time frame, especially into Minnesota, Wisconsin, the bullseye here across Iowa, with a lot of these areas seeing up to 50 mile per hour wind gusts. And then that translates farther south into northern Missouri and western Illinois as well. And you can see those colder temperatures with the temperature anomalies all the way down 20, 25 degrees below normal on Sunday today. And that continues into Monday. Again, another 10, 20 degrees below normal across the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley on Monday to start the work week. And that even continues more or less into Tuesday, April 18th as well. But you do see the start of some return flow out of the south across the Great Plains, and that means another trough will be digging in across the West Coast. But before then, look at the temperatures this afternoon. We're down into the 30s and 40s out here where it's snowing across portions of the upper Midwest and the western Ohio Valley. Meanwhile, ahead of the cold front, temperatures will be surging into the 70s and middle 80s out here toward portions of the mid-Atlantic with the severe weather. But as we go into tonight, you see some frost and freeze conditions starting up here across the Dakotas, Minnesota, maybe northern portions of Iowa. And as we go through Monday afternoon, we're only going to recover back to the 30s and 40s up here across the Great Lakes into the Ohio Valley, with a lot cooler temperatures back into the 50s, where we actually saw the 80s on today this afternoon. We're going to see the 50s on Monday across the Northeast. Going into Monday night, more widespread frost and freeze conditions up here across the Dakotas, Nebraska, Minnesota, Iowa, getting into portions there of Wisconsin and northern Illinois. Definitely cover up the plants and all that vegetation out there, because we definitely could be seeing some harm to those with these colder temperatures. And as we go into Tuesday, we could still be seeing some 40s and 50s again across the Great Lakes here. But like I mentioned, that return southerly flow across the Great Plains will introduce more 80s and even some 90s out here across west central Kansas, western Oklahoma, into the panhandle of Texas, just west of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex on Tuesday. And that leads us to our next storm system as we go into early next week on Tuesday. And you see a deepening trough across the Pacific Northwest that will start to slowly move inland across the Intermountain West by the middle of next week here on Wednesday. And you definitely see by 7 o'clock on Tuesday, mainly some upper elevation snows up here across the Pacific Northwest. That does continue through Tuesday evening and even into your Wednesday morning commute across Washington State, Oregon, Northern California, and then inland there toward Idaho, portions of Montana and Wyoming. Definitely seeing some snowfall there. And looking at the total snowfall accumulation during that midweek period from Tuesday, April 18th through Thursday, April 20th, we definitely could be adding up some decent totals up here across the Pacific Northwest. Some areas could see over 6 inches of snowfall, especially into western Montana, western Wyoming, getting into central and northern Idaho, and then the higher elevations back here as you go into western Washington State, western Oregon, and parts of northern California. That will be causing some travel impacts. So if you are traveling across the Pacific Northwest during the middle of this upcoming week here, definitely as you go up in elevation, do be mindful that the snow will be flying, and that will be causing at least some minor, if not moderate, travel inconveniences again across places like Washington State, Oregon, Northern California, getting into Idaho, western portions of Montana, into western Wyoming, right through that Thursday, April 20th time frame. But as we go later on in the week, that trough will start to move inland here even further across portions of the central Great Plains, and then really start rapidly deepening by Friday across the Midwest and the western Great Lakes region. And as this occurs, we're going to see the stronger temperatures move farther north. So we got the 70s 70s and 80s all across the eastern 2/3 of the country, and a warm frontal boundary that will be setting up across the central plains into the upper Midwest here, and that will be the focal point for our storm. So we have the return flow out of the Gulf of Mexico, so dew points will be rising back into the 50s and 60s all the way up into southeastern Iowa and north central Illinois on Thursday. And we got a pretty significant trough here, more of a neutral to negatively tilted trough by Thursday, April 20th, with a lot of shear starting to overlap some of the better instability out here. And there's no surprise that day 5 days out, the Storm Prediction Center already has a 15% or equivalent slight risk for severe storms across southern Missouri here down into central Arkansas. This does include the Little Rock region and Jonesboro, Arkansas, as we go through that Thursday time frame. So you see, starting off Thursday morning, we got some elevated thunderstorms up here across the Midwest near the warm front as it starts pushing farther north there into Iowa and northern Illinois. These storms could be a little feisty at times Thursday morning with some heavy rain, some frequent lightning, and maybe even some smaller hail, but not really concerned about a severe weather potential with these storms. But as we get through the daytime heating on Thursday early afternoon, we'll start to percolate some showers and storms right along that cold front here from southern and southeastern Iowa through the Missouri Valley down into the western Arklatex. That will push across portions of the Illinois Valley, the lower Missouri Valley into the Arklatex by the time we get into Thursday evening, mainly as a squall line. So it looks like mainly some damaging winds, large hail, and a few brief tornadoes will be possible, and that will continue to dive its way to the south with the better instability down here across the Gulf of Mexico as we get towards that 1 a.m. time frame on Friday. Then as we go into Friday, that cold front will start to dive its way farther to the east-southeast. We'll get the warmer, more unstable air across the southeastern United States with the 70s and 80s out here. Dew points will be into the 50s and 60s, and we have a strengthening mid-level jet as well as this system really matures going into Friday. Definitely something to watch out for, and you see that ongoing squall line across the Ohio Valley down through the eastern Tennessee Valley and the Gulf Coast here. Definitely going to be watching out for some stronger storms by Friday morning at 7 a.m. across New Orleans, southern portions there of Mississippi, and then getting in toward the Mobile, Alabama region as we get in toward that Friday morning commute. But you do notice some more blue up to the north. That's another potential snowstorm across Minnesota, the Twin Cities region, getting into Wisconsin and the UP of Michigan, and that continues even into Friday evening this next Friday, and that actually will continue even into Saturday with some snow flurries and snow showers across even southeastern Canada, with more of a soggy go of it to start the weekend next weekend across the Mid-Atlantic and portions of the Northeast. But looking at the snowfall potential here, the European forecast model is going all in on a very decent late season snow again late this week across that Thursday through Saturday time frame on the 20th through the 22nd of April, with over 6 inches of snow possible from the eastern Dakotas through central Minnesota, including the Twin Cities region. Northern Wisconsin could be the big winners here, at least on this model, for over 6 inches of snow, and then that crosses over into the UP of Michigan and maybe northern lower Michigan as well. The GFS model is a little farther north with the warm air and a little more amplified with this system, so it has the heavier snow a lot farther displaced to the north across northern Minnesota here, up near Lake Superior and more so into Ontario, Canada. So we'll have to fine-tune this in the coming days to see where that sets up. But regardless, the long-range weather pattern does get colder as we get towards the end of the month. That goes all the way through April 29th here, and the Climate Prediction Center is forecasting well below normal temperatures during this period, but it will also come with much quieter conditions. So even though we cool off toward the end of the month after this next system, we don't have much precipitation to talk about, so likely not seeing much in the way of snowfall with this second punch of cold air towards the end of the month of April. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys want more additional weather forecast updates, be sure to hit the description down below and follow me on Twitter at hweather420, and also like the video down below by slapping the like button. Definitely much appreciated. The more likes we get, the more people who view this video. Again, thank you so much for liking it, and also subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can get all of my daily weather forecast updates on this channel each and every morning at 9 a.m. I cover southern Canada, the United States, and the tropics during tropical weather season. We're quickly approaching 29,000 subscribers thanks to you, so thank you guys for liking the video and also subscribing each and every day. That is much appreciated. Have a great rest of your weekend, everybody, and I will see you all in the next